It is honeymoon phase. Everybody is happy. Everybody's making the same jokes. Everybody's super jacked up on Bill Belichick, the head coach of UNC. There were three main people at this press conference, right? There was the Chancellor, Chancellor Roberts of the entire university. There was Bubba Cunningham, who's the athletic director, and there was Bill Belichick in the middle. Those were the three main characters at this press conference. They opened, and I'm not exaggerating, where they each made the exact same joke. Started with the Chancellor breaking out a UNC hoodie with the sleeves cut off, giving it to Belichick. Everybody laughed. Then they went over to Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director, where he pulled out a sport coat, like a suit coat. But this one was different. It had the sleeves cut off. Everybody laughed politely because the joke had just been made. Then Bill Belichick says, "Thank you guys for the hoodie, but I already got one." And he takes out a hoodie that was his dad's hoodie, or his dad's sweatshirt back from when he coached at UNC a bunch of years ago. It was just everybody in good vibes, everybody excited. You know, it's like a wedding speech. Right? The jokes don't actually have to be that funny. Everybody's got a couple drinks. Everybody loves the bride and groom. Everybody's going to laugh at every joke. Even if it's the third time they heard it. Everybody was just excited that Bill Belichick was there. He even told a little joke about his first words. So let's jump to the Bill Belichick clip on what his first words were way back when Bill Belichick was known as Billy and he was just a little toddler.
One story I always heard was Billy's first words were, "Beat Duke." So, full circle. But again, very grateful and appreciative for the opportunity. This is a great process. I've learned so much about the university and the support that we have for the football program. And this is, obviously a great educational school, and the kids here are outstanding, and we want to transfer that over to the football field and have an outstanding football team.
That's right. First words were "beat Duke." Now, he's told that story a few times in the past. The words change a little bit, but the point remains. He's there spreading vibes.
Right out of the gate, cheap pop by Bill Belichick to the UNC fan base.
Warm room, everybody laughs. And it should be that way. It should be that way. Do you know why? I counted, right? So while this was taking place, I was watching the live stream on YouTube. Like I said, Dennis Cox, we had in attendance. WRAL, which is our colleagues within the Capital Broadcasting Company umbrella, had multiple reporters, television, investigative reporters. Everybody's there. But while I was watching, I clicked around. NFL Network carried it live. ESPN carried it live. ACC Network, which is under the ESPN umbrella, carried it live. FS1 cut into Colin Cowherd's show to carry it live. Obviously, we had live clips right here on 99.9 The Fan. I don't say this as a joke. I'm not playing to the warm room looking for laughs. I'm not saying this for any reason other than it's true. At about 2:15 today, the University of North Carolina football team was the center of the sports universe. Not the center of the college football universe, not the center of the college sports universe. I'm talking every North American sports fan. The center of that universe was the UNC football team. And that right there is one of the very best reasons to make the move to bring in Bill Belichick. It's not just he's a great defensive mind, although he is. It's not just that he has connections in the NFL, although he does. It's that he's famous. It's that he is famously successful. It's that he has famous friends. It's that people like talking about him. The thing about recruiting, and in a hilarious fashion, Bill Belichick did say that he'd be willing to go into high school recruits' living rooms to recruit. Like, he'll be pounding the pavement out there recruiting. In hilarious fashion, he'll be out there recruiting. But I say it all the time. One of the most underrated parts of recruiting is how often a recruit thinks about you when you aren't there. when you aren't doing something? How often when they're at school does someone say, hey, are you going to commit to UNC? Hey, did you hear from Belichick? When they're walking in the grocery store, how often do they see, when they're watching ESPN, how often do they see them talking about a school? Because it gets stuck in your brain. UNC is going to be talked about a ton now. It's going to be talked about a ton. And that right there is worth its weight in gold in the recruiting world. He said he already talked to the team and the players. That's pretty important. This guy's hit the ground running. I'll even update you on this. This is, it's not breaking news, but it kind of is. I learned during the presser, right, and another tab, that Aiden Banfield has already taken his name out of the portal and is going back to UNC.
There you go.
He was one of the best true freshman offensive linemen in the country, and when there was no head coach of the university, put his name in the portal, took his name right back out. He's going back to North Carolina. It's already started.
The domino effect has already begun with players in the portal.
And I actually got an answer to one of my number one questions for the presser. Right? I obviously there were a ton of good questions asked. And shout out to Chris Lee, who's a friend of the show. He comes on the show often. He asked a recruiting question, and Bill Belichick went, hey, great question. It's like, that's got to be kind of cool for a reporter, right? Chip Alexander, News and Observer, asked the question. And he used more words than this, but the question was essentially why? Why are you doing this? Why do you still want to coach? And we do have the clip, I believe. We do. So this was his answer in part.
When you love what you do, and my dad told me this, when you love what you do, it's not work. It's really, I love what I do. I love coaching. I love the interaction with the players. I love building a team, working with the assistants, game planning, the game itself, which, there's some good ones, there's some bad ones, but they're all learning experience, and working with, young kids who, with the energy, enthusiasm to want to be good, to want to be successful. It's, it's great every day to wake up and come into that environment.
He even went so far as to say, why coach? And he said coaching beats working. I said this yesterday. I'll say it again. He's a football psycho, and I say that lovingly. Like, I say that as, at one point in time, I was probably that way, where when you're not in the football world, you're thinking about the football world. He loves coaching. He doesn't see it as work. He loves being on the field. He loves watching film. He would be doing it anyway. I read an article that it was, I believe it was on Sports Illustrated, but if I'm wrong on that, I apologize. That said he and Michael Lombardi, who we'll talk about, has been hired as the GM of UNC football, and Josh McDaniels and like a handful of others who have been coaches and have worked with Belichick for years, but have found themselves without a job this year, still got together on weekly Zooms to talk about the plays called, the schemes run across the NFL, to like bring up game film and dissect it as a unit. They didn't have a job. They're just football psychos. So it's like, should I coach at a school? Should I coach at the pros? Or should I do something else? He's like, no, there is nothing else.
I thought it was also interesting how he was asked, when did you I think it was Brendan Marks, who was on the show earlier this week, that asked, when did you know that North Carolina was a good fit? And then he kind of, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, said, when I saw that there was good reaction on social media, it's kind of like, well, no duh, Bill. Like, yeah, if any fan base, I'm sure if there was rumors out there that you were interested in the job, I'm sure there'd be plenty of good reaction.
Plenty of good reaction, but not just that. I mean, he talked about it. He said, like, college seeked me out, right? Because of how the college world keeps turning more and more and more into the NFL. And he brought up adding a 2-minute warning. He brought up adding the radios and the helmets. He brought up so much of these other things where the college game is starting to look more like the pro game. He's like, college coaches have been calling me for advice this entire year. So I've been entrenched in the struggles and the challenges they're going through already.